Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster. Here to bring you some more Pokemon Go GBL battles after not making any videos for a week. This time it wasn't just me, it was because the game was unplayable. There was a lot of server issues, a lot of people had a ton of lag. It wasn't just me. And yeah, a lot of people were understandably very frustrated, and I tried to continue playing the game anyway and mostly ended up just dying a lot. That's why I'm expert at 26-27. I had peaked at like 28-50 a week ago, and then the servers just stopped working, and I mostly just lagged to death, desynced all the time, and yeah, dropped down at one point to like 24 and change. It was terrible. I should not have played that week. But, there was no indication that that wasn't just going to be the way it was going to be, like, continuously. So I figured, okay, I better get used to this. And, yeah, that was not a thing that you can get used to. It was just completely unplayable. I have no idea what Niantic was doing, but whatever it is, it seems like they've gotten it ironed out. Because, at least for me, the game is now performing normally again. So, yeah, time to climb. We also have a new cup, the Little Jungle Cup. I was kind of looking forward to this, but I didn't make any kind of practice videos because I was very disenfranchised with the game. But yeah, I have settled on a team, and this is the first game that I've done with it, and I go on a 14-1 streak with it right off of using it. So let's hop in. I'm opening with Altaria, and I ended up leading into an Onix, which is the worst possible matchup. I switch out to Chansey. Chansey is generally going to be my safe swap. My opponent swaps in a Skorupi, and I want you to watch this as they throw their first Cross Poison and get the Cross Poison boost, which is the same as the Night Slash boost, a double boost to their attack. And Chansey just does not care. This entire battle with Skorupi, this Skorupi is what my opponent switched into Chansey, and it double boosted immediately. They're going to shield the Psychic, and I am just going to wail away with Pound. Like, they have shield and I have not, and my Pound is just... Chansey is just slapping this Scorpion over and over again, and it is doing so much damage. It keeps throwing Cross Poison, and Chansey just doesn't care. Chansey just does not care. If it's not super effective against Chansey, Chansey just is not bothered. Able to reach the Psychic, and that is going to force the last shield out of the Skorupi. So even though this Skorupi switched into Chansey and boosted immediately on the very first Cross Poison, they still had to go down 2 shields in order to win switch. So I'm going to bring Altaria back out, and I'm going to end up farming down. I no-shield this Cross Poison to find out how much it does when it's double boosted, and the answer is a lot, like 50% to Altaria, and then those things get spammed out really fast. Onix comes out, and I'm able to get Stunfisk aligned with a Croagunk. Croagunk has only poison fast moves, so this is fine. This game is over. But yeah, the basics of what I understood from this match using Chansey here is that Chansey is it's really hard to kill. It's really hard to kill Chansey if you don't have something dedicated to killing Chansey, and a lot of teams do not currently have that. So if you have access to a Chansey, I recommend it. My Chansey, by the way, is ranked number 43 for Little Cup. I had it because it was in storage. It was supposed to be an Ultra League Blissey, and, since I don't evolve things for no reason and don't build things just fun, I had it low enough that I was able to power it up for Little Cup, and it turned out to be really good there. My Altaria also, same thing, rank 2 for Great League, so that's 143 or something like that for Little Cup. Watch this Chansey battle. I speed it up to 3 times, so this is fine. But these things just slap, slap, slap. And this opponent Chansey does not have Hyper Beam, and I do. That Gleam did that much. Hyper Beam does like about double that. Maybe a little less. Point is, this Chansey's not going to be able to win switch from my Chansey because my Chansey has Hyper Beam, and that Chansey does not. I highly recommend Hyper Beam Psychic. Dazzling Gleam doesn't really hit too many things that, like, the things that give Chansey trouble are, like, Skarmory, maybe Stunfisk, and, like, obviously Vigoroth, a Scrafty if someone were to bring that. And I guess a Pikachu Libre would be actually, like, one of the worst things for it. But Dazzling Gleam doesn't really add anything to any of those that Hyper Beam doesn't already do. Hyper Beam will kill the Scrafty. It'll KO Vigoroth. Really don't... I don't see a lot of need for Dazzling Gleam. So I definitely recommend Chansey, and I definitely recommend it with Hyper Beam. And this is my Stunfisk, which looks like it's good because it's at $4.99, but it's actually like a 15-13-1. Like, it has the most upside down looking stat distribution. So it's actually got terrible IVs, but it does the job anyway. So anyway, you can acquire a Stunfisk, which would be trading one that was caught in the wild, either back on that one day for 1 hour where they were spawning everywhere when they first introduced it, or, you know, one that was left over caught during a Go Fest or one of those other events, maybe a Safari Zone or something. But you need a wild caught low Stunfisk, and the IVs could be total garbage like mine, but of the 5 that I was traded, that was the best one. And yeah, Altaria, same thing. It was a rank 2 for Great League, and I had unlocked its I had evolved it because I wanted the community move Moonblast, and then I just powered it up to whatever it ended up to, under 500. I'm just using that. So if you don't have perfect stats on your Pokemon for this little cup, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I will say that after having streamed the first day of it and then doing my battles from today, there is no meta yet. It is wide open. Like Ducklet, pretty popular. Stunfisk, surprisingly popular. There's a few Chanseys. There's a few Altaria. There's a few Skarmory. There's a few of everything, because there's 8 typings allowed, and you can have been evolved or not. So, like, 2/3 of the Pokemon that exist are eligible, and everyone is just using literally anything right now. So I have picked a team that is, for the most part, fairly bulky and not super spammy, which is the opposite of what I usually build, which is a spammy team that I, have to focus really carefully on energy management and shield management. With Chansey, you just don't shield at all. Almost no matter what, unless it's like your only win condition, I don't shield. Because even these Earthquakes from Stunfisk just don't do that much. Like, Chansey is so strong that you will win the zeros against a Stunfisk. Stunfisk has to shield, and Chansey just should not shield at all, no matter what. Like, unless you absolutely have to shield with Chansey, don't do it. Because Chansey is easy for a skilled opponent to play around if they start shielding. Like, if Chansey shields, the other thing can obviously mirror shield and just build up tons of extra energy. Chansey always will provide a ton of farm to your opponent. So you have to be very careful to basically never shield Chansey so that your opponent has less to take advantage of. Like, a lot of times I don't even fight for switch very hard. So my opponent here brings a Skorupi, and Skorupi, by the way, is crazy popular, fairly inexpensive, and honestly very, very good. Like, if you can't build my team, but you have a Skorupi, it's like probably the best budget pick for this that is easy to acquire. Doesn't have to be Shadow. I think maybe non-Shadow is better in a lot of the cases that I've seen. And if you have a Ducklet left over from Element Cup, you can absolutely use that. Ducklet very strong, Skorupi very strong. Cottony was supposed to be very strong, but I just am not seeing them that much, so I can't really say. I think it's the prevalence of Skorupi that is kind of keeping Cottony in bay. Anyway, next battle, up against Scotty. Altaria into Wooper. This is a pretty good matchup for Altaria, although if Wooper can throw a bunch of body slams, then, it's obviously a problem for Altaria. I'm going to stay in against this Skorupi safe swap. I'm not really sure what the thought process was there. I really should have just swapped out right away. Wouldn't want to switch into G-Fisk because, Skorupi generally has Aqua Tail followed by some kind of poison move. Most of them seem to be running cross poison, so that is the set that I would recommend if you're going to be running Skorupi. This Skorupi is not immediately boosting against my Chansey, so it is a lot better, but this is already a pretty good matchup. Like, I should probably have swapped to try to catch the first cross poison, because cross poison, the 4 cross poisons that Chansey has just eaten did about as much damage to Chansey as the 1 cross poison that Altaria had to eat. So probably should have swapped out to Chansey right away. Either way, I am going to throw this Hyper Beam, and I get a shield off Skarmory, which is sensible because the Hyper Beam does about as much as this Rock Slide is about to do, which is a little over half. Actually, all right, I guess Hyper Beam would do a little bit less than that. Point is, Hyper Beam would hurt anything an awful lot. So I no-shield the Brave Bird, and it nearly KOs Stunfisk. Stunfisk not nearly as tanky as it is in Great League, and Skarmory also not nearly as tanky as in Great League. All of these moves that you're used to doing damage are doing even more damage here. And Wooper's going to come out, farm down. That's all right. I'm going to bring out Altaria. I am just going to throw this Sky Attack right away. This is going to force out the last shield. And I still have 2. I am going to no-shield this move. From a Shadow Wooper, the Body Slam I figured would definitely not KO, and it honestly did a lot more than I expected it to. My opponent switches into Garupi to try to catch or try to snipe me, maybe, and I'm just going to bring Chansey out. I'm not going to shield this. It's an Aqua Tail. And Chansey is just going to finish slapping the Scorpion to death. Wooper's going to come back out, and I just need to get to this Psychic. I still have 2 shields, and I'm going to no-shield this anyway because I'm just so confident that Chansey cannot be killed. And she just can't. She just cannot be killed. And I'm just going to throw this Psychic, and it is going to take out this Wooper, and that is a 2-shield flex. Chansey just doesn't need shields. Just things hit Chansey, and Chansey is totally unbothered by it. All right, next up against RNG. Altaria into Vigoroth. Vigoroth obviously is very strong against my backline. Chansey still has some play because Chansey is just a monster. But obviously it would be best for me if Altaria could do the heavy lifting for this Vigoroth and take it out on its own. So I'm just going to throw this Sky Attack. This will always get a shield because Vigoroth outpaces. I switch into Chansey to try to catch, and they didn't throw right away, but they are going to throw anyway, so it's all the same to Chansey. It's a Body Slam, and it just does not really hurt that much. They get in one counter, and they went down with a Body Slam of Energy, and that's fine. Drifloon is going to come out, and this isn't really a Chansey counter either. Obviously, Drifloon is double resisting my slaps and the Hyper Beam, but the Psychic is going to hit for neutral. And I have been debuffed once so far, but this Psychic is still going to hit kind of hard-ish. Never mind, that didn't really hurt. But, I mean, it hurt a lot more than these Icy Winds do. Chansey unfazed by the ice. So this Drifloon is building up a little bit extra energy. I'm anticipating them swapping out at some point. So generally, when I'm Chanseying, I kind of want to build up energy before I switch out, because otherwise, like, Chansey comes into something and Chansey has it takes so long to reach any kind of a move. You really have to leave yourself with as much energy as possible. Like, if you have the option to leave Chansey in and to take more damage to build up more energy, do that. It's better. Here I should no shield because I'm not actually going to reach a Rock Slide, but I thought I was gonna, so I was going for a 3-ball flex on this one. And I got KO'd by that last Hex that I thought I was going to survive, but apparently did not. And that's all right. I'm just going to bring Chansey out. Chansey doesn't need to shield anything because literally nothing can kill Chansey. This Icy Wind is going to hit, and it's not going to be enough. Even one more Icy Wind wouldn't quite be enough. And after I throw this now single debuffed Psychic, at this point, I'm just going to wait for Drifloon to throw its energy, and then I'm just going to switch into Altaria and Dragon Breath the rest of the way down. And Icy Wind lands, I don't shield that, and Altaria comes out and just disintegrates Drifloon. And yeah, managed to take that game. GG. So, first set in the bag. This was my first set with this team, and it's a 5 out of 5. So, good start. I get an Azelf, which is honestly just super annoying. Catching Azelf is terrible. I don't necessarily want to be able to, like, bank these Pokemon for later, store them like you do in a research stack. I just they really just need to raise the catch rate a little bit. There's no reason to make it that difficult to catch. You always end up throwing like 50 balls to try to catch this thing, and it just takes up so much time. Just raise the catch rate, guys. Come on, Niantic. All right, another Vigoroth in the lead. It is a pretty popular team, having Vigoroth in the lead with Stunfisk in the back right now. Align's fine with me. I'm going to switch Chansey out to try to catch a Rock Slide. If you don't catch the Rock Slide, that's also fine, because energy going into Chansey is just fine. It's no big deal. Chansey does not care. Gonna take this Earthquake, and that is fine because Chansey just doesn't bother Chansey. The whole point of staying in with Altaria for as long as possible was to build up energy with Altaria, because Altaria's energy will be able to go into something, and energy on something switch locked that has to go into Chansey it's just not going to do that much damage. I end up throwing that Psychic because I don't want to throw the Hyper Beam. If I threw Hyper Beam, they would be able to build up to like 100 energy, and before throwing a Rock Slide and end with even more energy. Here, if they decide to throw the Rock Slide, I'm going to be able to reach another Psychic and pressure the last shield out of this Stunfisk, or end up like winning Switch here. So they decide to shield. I get the defense drop, which is nice. It doesn't really change anything. I still get taken out. Now I'm going to bring my own Stunfisk in. Since they insta-threw, I'm assuming this is a Rock Slide, and I'm going to no-shield it. And it is, and that does so much more than it does in Great League, but that's fine. They could have thrown another Rock Slide, but I wouldn't have had to shield it. They would have needed 3 Mud Shots to get to an Earthquake once you throw a Rock Slide from there. So it's perfectly safe. I am going to shield this Brick Break, and just going to throw this Earthquake. This Earthquake is going to take out Vigoroth. Since I was able to get those 2 shields off from the Chansey matchup, I am pretty safe, and between Stunfisk and Altaria, there's not a lot that can take them out together, especially when I have a shield. So just going to throw this Rock Slide. Does a lot of damage to Skarm, and just going to throw this next one as soon as I've got it. They're going to try to farm me down, but since they're not quite going to make it, I'm just going to be able to take this game. GG. Yeah, Vigoroth seems to be a fairly popular lead right now, so it is a great time to be playing Ferrikster's line. Next up against Josh 2-0 Protector. Shout out to Josh. I know he's always playing interesting things. This is just Vigoroth opening, so that is good for me. I'm going to stay in with Altaria. I am going to no-shield the first Body Slam. It does a lot, and then my opponent's going to switch out into their own Chansey, so I'm going to build up to double Sky Attack, and then I'm going to switch out to G-Fisk. I'm bringing in G-Fisk because, I mean, Chansey has such decent general play against, like, literally everything. So if I can switch into G-Fisk and kind of push my opponent towards fighting for Switch, like if I can get this Chansey to shield in order to win Switch, that would be great. Also, the good thing about throwing your Stunfisk into a Chansey like this, once the Chansey is already, you know, has taken up all of that Dragon Breath damage, is that I can build up more energy before switching out. Like this Chansey, because of it throwing Psychics, I'm guessing this is a Psychic Gleam. I don't think it has Hyper Beam, and that makes this matchup so much safer for Stunfisk. Like, Stunfisk against Chansey with no Hyper Beam, fine. Chansey has Hyper Beam, can absolutely destroy, threaten Stunfisk. So I get 2 shields out of this Vigoroth, and I mean, since I was built up back-to-back, I'm just going to throw this next Sky Attack also, take Vigoroth out, and there is a Litleo left over in the back. So, good thing I sent out G-Fisk against the Chansey, because otherwise, you know, I would have ended up with this Litleo, which absolutely just, you know, can eat through a Stunfisk really fast with its Fire Fang. Opponent switches out into Chansey to try to make a catch, but it wasn't quite there yet. I'm going to throw the Psychic, undercharge it a little bit. I should have undercharged it way more than that so that I'd be able to farm up and, like, you know, be at a move. But Chansey wasn't able to reach a charge move, and I still have 2 shields. And, like, Chansey is so thick, I don't even need to shield this. Like, it turns out to be a crunch, but if it was a Flamethrower, I would still have survived it just fine. I'm able to get to the Psychic, no problem. And I am going to take out this Litleo for another 2 shield flex. That's a GG. Chansey just doesn't need the shields. And it really helped that since my opponent switched in his Chansey, I was able to abuse that and build up energy before I switch out. It's one of the things that makes me kind of hesitant to use Chansey as a safe swap, because, you know, it gives the opponent the ability to charge up a ton of energy before switching out into something that can, you know, eat a Hyper Beam from Chansey a little bit better. Not that there's a ton of things that can do that. Another Vigoroth in the lead. I tried to switch out to Chansey at the last second to try to catch this Body Slam, but since it went through, I'm just going to stay in, Dragon Breath down. Vigoroth's not able to reach one last one, and I should be able to get a shield off unless I get taken out too quickly, and it is a Skrelp. Have been seeing kind of a couple of Skrelps. Vigoroth with Skrelp is a team also. I think there's usually a G-Fisk behind this. Regardless, I'm just going to throw this Psychic with Chansey right away before Chansey gets hit with another Sludge Bomb. Not that Chansey would mind. Just, I don't know. Not going to shield, even though I am quite confident that this is in fact a Sludge. I'm saving my shield for G-Fisk. Like, if I could time it out well enough and catch a Sludge Bomb on G-Fisk, that would obviously be amazing, but that is too much to ask for, and if I screw that up, I'll get double Aqua Tailed, which will probably KO. And then my opponent switches into Stunfisk, so I'm just going to respond by sending in my own Stunfisk. And this is too early to be an Earthquake, but I'm going to shield it anyway, and it is a Muddy Water. So this is a Rock Slide Muddy Water G-Fisk, which is also a thing. Because they used their last shield on Skrelp, I was able to win this. Otherwise, the double Muddy Water, because they had an energy lead, would have actually KO'd me before I was able to take them out, which would have been really bad for me. And Skrelp is going to come out, and I'm not able to get to my Rock Slide, and this Skrelp is getting really close to getting to a move, but Chansey is able to get to that Psychic. And yeah, managed to take that down. That's GG. It's not that the team is unstoppable, it's just that Chansey can't be killed. That's the thing. Chansey just cannot be killed. So, Altaria Mirror. I am just going to stay in here. My IVs are slightly better than my opponents, and then I seem to have more HP because I'm surviving a little bit more. They also throw first, so I am just going to shield the Sky Attack. Was pretty sure I would end up losing CMP anyway. And yeah, I'm just going to spam out the Moonblast because I don't want something to come out and KO me in like one shot. So just going to get my shield back, and now I have switch advantage, and I get farmed down by a Wooper, which is not great, but the good thing about, you know, them farming down with Wooper is that I can send Chansey out into it, and Chansey just doesn't care how much energy Wooper has. Look at this Body Slam. It just didn't do anything. Like this Chansey thing, it just cannot be. It's like, do you remember Bronzor in the original like Little Cup and Open Little Cup where it just could not die? Like, this is like levels of thick that are like that. Like, Chansey just cannot be killed. Going to take another Body Slam. Chansey does not mind. The slaps from Chansey are doing about as much as the combined mud shots with Body Slams. Chansey just that thick. You'd think an egg would be more delicate, but it just isn't. So I get a shield off of this Wooper, which is fine. That tells me that, like, not that much, actually. Like, a lot of things will shield versus Chansey just because they outpace Chansey so damn much. But I am definitely not going to shield anything. So I'm just going to throw this Psychic here. Like, I could have waited, but, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much just going to end up switching out into G-Fisk almost no matter what. It is a Skorupi, so this is fine. I'm pretty safe here. Chansey still has enough HP somehow that would be able to survive a non-Sludge Bomb from Skorupi if it came to that. But not too concerned here. I'm just going to throw this Rock Slide. And Skorupi will outpace Stunfisk a little bit, but all I really needed to do was be able to get off one of these Rock Slides. Like, even if I hadn't had a shield and just spammed out my first Rock Slide right away, it would have probably been okay. Because after one Rock Slide, Chansey would have just been able to pound the rest of the way down. It would have been all right. And that's GG. All right, next up against Dancy. Altaria into Swinub. This is a really, really terrible lead, obviously. Swinub is kind of a problem for my team. I decided to send in Stunfisk instead of Chansey because I've sent Chansey into a Swinub before. Or I was leading Chansey at one point and, you know, encountered a Swinub lead. And Swinub actually was able to win that and emerge with some energy, so I decided to send G-Fisk in instead, and they stay in. So that makes me feel not great because that means that their backline was probably weak to G-Fisk, and I wasted it on a Swinub that I wasn't quite able to beat anyway. But I did get 2 shields. So Swinub went down 2 shields in order to win Switch. And now I'm just going to bring Chansey out. Since I know this Swinub has energy, I'm just going to let Chansey absorb that damage. And then my opponent switches out to Venonat, and I switch into Altaria, which is the wrong thing to do. Chansey has Psychic. Like, I could just stay in against Venonat and Psychic it. It would definitely take it out, no problem. Instead, I end up switching to Altaria, and then I Sky Attack Venonat. And now Swinub's going to come out, farm me down, and be able to debuff Chansey, and I won't be able to switch out because all of my other Pokemon are already dead. So, this is not great as far as situations go. But I do still have Chansey with 2 shields, so I am not going to shield this either. I mean, I'm confident they don't have something that has counter, but they do have a Shadow Skarmory, so that's rough. They're out of shields, so I'm going to go straight Hyper Beam. Unfortunately, now that I am double debuffed, this isn't quite going to pack the punch that I need it to, and it's just not quite enough. Like, I'm going to throw these pounds, and that will get me up to, like, if I can throw another Hyper Beam, I'll be able to take it out with all of the pounds that it takes to get there. But now I'm shielding Chansey, and that means you're usually not in a great position. Yeah, I'm going to settle for throwing the Psychic, and I'm not quite even able to make that. Skarmory is just able to reach the last Sky Attack. And again, I played that. There's nothing wrong with my team, but I played that matchup terribly. I should not have switched out against Venonat. I was just being over-eager about clearing my debuff, and that hilariously put me in a position where I was later unable to clear my debuff, which is not great. Not great, not great. So I get another Azelf, and, 10 minutes later when I finally catch the thing, cash in my 4 out of 5, which is still a pretty good set, especially considering it followed a 5 out of 5, and yeah, gonna go into this next battle. Altaria into Vigoroth. Vigoroth, very common lead right now. I'm gonna play this out the way I have in the past, which is just no shield the first Body Slam, because if I can use Altaria to take out Vigoroth, my backline will be fairly safe. It would be pretty weird for them to have another counter user behind a Vigoroth, especially considering there are so few of them, since fighting isn't one of the types that is available to pick. They switched into a Skrelp, and I really thought I was going to reach that Sky Attack, and I went down with the energy for it. So just barely not able to make it there. But that does mean that I'm at least not switch locked, so able to bring Chansey in. I'm just going to spam the Psychic out as soon as I can, because I don't really want to get hit with another Sludge Bomb. And I know that if I try to build up to a Psychic and then some, I'll end up having to eat another Sludge Bomb, possibly 2. And then a Stunfisk comes out. So since I'm up a shield, this is all right. I'm going to stay in for a bit to confirm that it has Earthquake, because, I don't want to end up throwing my Stunfisk in if it has Muddy Water instead. So I'm just going to bring Stunfisk in here. They switch out into Vigoroth to, not quite to catch a move, I think just to spam out an attack. I'm going to no-shield it, and it is a Brick Break, actually, which is nuts. I'm just going to Mud Shot down, and here I throw a Rock Slide, which doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like, I could have just thrown the Earthquake. I'm not going to be able to reach an Earthquake after this anyway. Like, that was a minor miscalculation. I'm going to wait till the last second to throw this at all, because, if I could get them to throw energy instead, that would be better than throwing a Rock Slide that obviously isn't going to do that much. But, I mean, it didn't do nothing, and the Mud Shots definitely added up. So here, an Earthquake would kill, but I'm like, I don't believe you, so I'm just going to no-shield, and now I'm just going to reach a Psychic, and I'm going to throw a Psychic, and I still have 2 shields left. So that is another 2-shield flex with this team, because Chansey just doesn't need shields. It is shields. And I managed to take that game, GG. Next up against Wayland. Altaria into Ducklet. Haven't seen as many Ducklets in this video as I have like yesterday. Yesterday I saw a lot of Ducklets in the lead. And he safe swaps into Stunfisk. I try to switch out to catch a Rock Slide on Chansey, but that doesn't happen, and that's fine. Chansey doesn't care. Just going to absorb this Earthquake, and that is fine. Like, I don't know how good your Chansey's IVs have to be in order to survive 3 Earthquakes plus the Mud Shots. But mine does fairly easily, so I imagine probably any decent-ish Chansey can probably do it. I'm going to no-shield here also, and this is probably another Earthquake. Yes, it is. It was a lost CMP tie, and I'm going to throw this Psychic. From here, it wouldn't actually KO, but I do get a shield off of them, and now they are trying to Mudshot the whole way down, which will leave them with literally 100 energy. Thankfully, I'm just barely able to reach this Psychic right before I faint, so I actually would need pretty good IVs in order to do that. And I'm able to get the last shield and survive another Mudshot anyway, so I wasn't actually that close. I'm going to send out Stunfisk, and I'm going to shield this. Because of how low they are, if they threw a Rock Slide, they wouldn't be able to reach another Earthquake, so I would be safe. So I just shield the first move. Turned out to be the Earthquake. Good shield. And now there's a Skorupi in the back. So Skorupi is obviously weak to rocks because it's a bug. So I'm just going to land one of those and then switch out to Altaria. I'm not going to shield anything here because I don't really need Altaria specifically. I mean, point is I would survive both of these. So I'm going to no-shield this also. And I just need to make sure that I, have two Pokemon, but I wanted to save my shield for something that would hit a little bit harder than the way Skorupi bashes and Altaria. Stunfisk comes out. I'm not going to throw anything. We're going to farm the rest of the way down. And now Ducklet comes back out. And yeah, this is pretty much fine. Like, Ducklet can't really hurt G-Fisk that well. I mean, it has Bubble Beam, obviously, which hits for super effective, but it just has such low damage output. Just not really that much to worry about. All the same, I'm going to be able to reach another Sky Attack with Altaria. Sky Attack is a little more efficient than Moonblast because of Stab. But I thought the Moonblast would maybe do a little bit more damage and maybe would have been enough there. But like going double Sky Attack was actually the play, not what I just did. All right, Altaria into Skrelp. This is a very good matchup for Altaria. They switch out right away, and I'm trying to switch out here. You could see me spamming the button trying to get out into Chansey to catch this Icy Wind. And for whatever reason, it didn't go, so I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to throw this Sky Attack and hope that I get my shield back. And I do, so that is fantastic. And now I'm going to switch out and try to make a catch again. This time I swapped out a little bit earlier, but I mean, it's not really so much making a catch because they are going to Icy Wind anyway. But I did need to stay in and do the rest of those Dragon Breaths of damage because that puts him into a pretty good farm down range. So now my Chansey is going to slap this balloon out of the sky slowly, and they're actually not going to let it happen. They're going to switch out into Skwovet. So Skwovet, pretty much the same as Greedent. It has Body Slam and Crunch as its normal. It's actually the exact same moveset. Bullet Seed with Body Slam and Crunch. So Chansey obviously doesn't care about taking these Body Slams. It's all the same to Chansey. And I am double debuffed, but I'm going to throw this Hyper Beam, and they shield anyway because Hyper Beam hurts a freaking lot even when it's double debuffed. Because of Stab and because it's such a ridiculously powerful move to begin with. So, going to take a Crunch. They actually get the defense drop, and that's fine. I'm going to throw this Earthquake right before they have enough energy for their next Crunch, and that is going to KO. I don't think a Rock Slide would have been enough there. All the same, Skrelp is going to come out and farm G-Fisk down. But that's all right. I'm just going to send out Altaria, and I am going to throw this Sky Attack as soon as I can. That is going to take Skrelp out, and just going to insta-kill Drifloon with a single Dragon Breath that you don't even get to see. And that is a GG. Nice. All right. Next up against Mochi. Altaria into Nidoran. So Nidoran is usually running Poison Sting with, I believe, Body Slam and Poison Fang. So it really doesn't have a good way of threatening G-Fisk. So when they switched out to an Umbreon, which I didn't realize was eligible, but I mean, obviously it is. It's just funny to see. Yeah, these foul plays, these neutral foul plays from Umbreon just do not bother Chansey, not one bit. Now, obviously, my Psychic would do even less than the foul plays are doing to me, so there's really no reason to throw a Psychic at any point. And, you might look at this and be like, oh, it's a Dark type. This would have been nice to have, Dazzling Gleam, but that's not true. Like, Hyper Beam will do the job just fine. I'm going to build up a little bit extra energy because, the goal should always be to build up as much energy as possible before throwing something. With Chansey, I'm not going to undercharge, just going to take it out with Hyper Beam, and they don't shield, so that is fine. Nidoran is going to come back out, and I am not going to shield anything from this Nidoran because Chansey doesn't shield. Don't shield Chansey. Unless you absolutely have to. It just is a waste because your opponent will outpace you by so damn much. Like here, I'm ending up in a position where they're going to be able to take advantage, right? Like this Poison Fang is going to land, and I don't have that much health left. But in terms of poison stings, it is still a lot of farm. Like, they're able to poison sting me the whole way down, and there's really nothing I can do about it. Like, can't switch out and switch like myself. I'm going to send in Stunfisk, though, because Nidoran has all of this energy, but there's not a great way to unload it into Stunfisk. That Poison Fang does nothing. And my opponent resigns the game. GG. So, 2 Shield Flex, although we didn't get through the whole game, so I don't know if that counts. But there's been a lot of times where I've been left with 2 shields at the end of this with this team. All right. Altaria into Shelmet. This is a very positive lead. They switch out, and I am so slow to get out here. I don't know why. Like, I'm pretty sure I was spamming the Chansey button a little bit faster than that, but, I mean, the game was just a little bit slow to get me out of there, and that is not great. Swinub is a problem for this team. It is one of the Pokemon that can individually beat any of my Pokemon, and I really can't shield. So I'm not going to be... Like, Chansey cannot force its way into switch advantage against the Swinub. The Icy Wind has Stab, and they get to them too fast. Like, I'm going to throw this Psychic because it is the cheaper move, and I really don't want to throw a Hyper Beam and leave myself energy dry so that they can, farm forever. And I'm not even really too stressed out about winning switch advantage, luckily. I didn't build up to the Hyper Beam, but I probably should have to at least maybe try to force a shield out of them. Either way, Chansey is going to actually lose this matchup in the zeros because I threw Psychic instead of Hyper Beam, which if you throw Hyper Beam, you will always win in the zeros. Altaria is going to come out and melt that, and they have a Piloswine in the back, so Shelmet double, double swine, I guess. That's all right. I'm going to send out my G-Fisk after I was able to get a shield. I'm going to shield the Avalanche from Piloswine. Luckily for me, Piloswine doesn't Icy Wind. It Avalanches, and I think Bulldoze is the normal set, I think, but who knows what they're running in Little Cup. My opponent makes a pretty good catch, catching this Rock Slide on the Shelmet, but that's not really that amazing of a catch because I was going to throw that Rock Slide against Shelmet. Anyway, I'm going to build up a little bit of extra energy and throw here right before my opponent gets the Bug Buzz because I don't want to have to take that. It would probably do pretty substantial damage, and it might put me in farm down range, which is really not where I want to be. So I am going to shield this Avalanche, and now all I need to do is undertap and throw this Rock Slide, but I overtapped because my energy was a little bit slow to arrive. And because of that, they're going to Avalanche me, which is terrible, and now I'm going to die, except that I don't. Dragon Breath, pretty strong move. I'm able to Dragon Breath the rest of the way down. And take that game for another 5 out of 5. So I've gone 5-4-5 since building this team. Like, these were the first 3 sets with it. And this team is really, really strong. Usually I pat myself on the back and say that I played really well, but, like, there were plenty of mistakes made, and this team is just ridiculous. So, yeah, play my team. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know you're supposed to do them, so please do the things. It would help me out a lot. I will see you guys in the next one.